Good morning, everyone. My name's John Franzreb. I'm an analyst here at Sidoti & Company. Our next presentation for the day is CPS Technologies, ticker CPSH. For those of you not familiar with the company, CPS is a manufacturer of advanced materials for a wide variety of end markets, primarily the aerospace and defense market. We are fortunate to have with us today CEO Brian Mackey and CFO Chuck Griffith. Following the presentation, there will be time for Q&A. Please utilize the Q&A icon to submit questions, and I will present them to management. With that said, gentlemen, thanks for being with us today. The floor is yours.
Thanks, John, and good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Mackey, as John said, joined today by Chuck Griffith, our CFO, and welcome to CPS Technologies presentation. We will have about a 20-minute or so presentation followed by Q&A, so we're interested to entertain your questions at the end. Start off with a quick legal statement that Chuck will read.
Sure. Thanks, Brian. Statements made in this document that are not historical facts or which apply prospectively, including those related to 2025 financial results, are forward-looking statements that involve risks and uncertainties. These forward-looking statements are identified by the use of terms and phrases such as will, intends, believes, expects, plans, anticipates, and similar expressions. Investors should not rely on forward-looking statements because they are subject to a variety of risks and uncertainties and other factors that could cause actual results to differ materially from the company's expectation. Additional information concerning risk factors is contained from time to time in the company's SEC filings, including its annual report on Form 10-K and other periodic reports filed with the SEC. Forward-looking statements contained in this presentation speak only as of the date of this presentation. Subsequent events or circumstances occurring after such date may render these statements incomplete or out of date. The company expressly disclaims any obligation to update the information contained in this presentation. And with that out of the way, I'll turn it back over to Brian.
Great. Thanks a lot, Chuck. Again, you're joined by us, Brian and Chuck. I've been with the company for a little under 2 years. Chuck is around 6 years. The rest of our management team is between the 2 and the 6 years. So we really are a 40-year-old company that essentially has the under new management flag hanging out front. You see our facility there. We are a single facility located in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts between Boston and Providence. We run 3 shifts of production at this facility, and we'll get into a lot more detail here in the next several pages. Synopsis of CPS. So we do provide high-performance material solutions, typically for applications with a high cost of failure, domestically located, which allows us to participate in those aerospace and defense contracts with a number of expanding growth opportunities that we'll discuss this morning. The investor community typically likes our balanced revenue between domestic and international, the aerospace and defense leaning toward the domestic and the other markets towards the international. So we have a balance between both domestic and international and the markets served. Recently, market cap has ticked upward above $30 million, which does align with the growth in revenue that we've been seeing. 2024 revenue at $21 million and our Q1 revenue above $7 million. So a nice uptick in that direction with strong demand from our customers. And we do use a fiscal year that is the same as the calendar year. We are located in Norton, Massachusetts. The headcount is approximately 150. We've added a number of temporary hourly workers in the last 6 or 8 months, particularly to staff up our 3rd shift of production, which we added around Labor Day of last year. And we use temporary hourly laborers to add to our workforce before we decide which have demonstrated the capability to become permanent members of our team. We are ISO certified and ITAR compliant as well. Focus areas for the company. We'll get into these on the next several pages. For a long time, we've been working with metal matrix composites and hermetic packaging, and in more recent years, composite armor. We have a number of product development initiatives underway, which we'll get into, and we do serve a diversity of markets, both the aerospace and defense and the other markets that you see there. So we're not 100% at risk in any singular market. And over the 40-year history of the company, we've developed a number of proprietary technologies, whether those are patent protected or trade secrets. It depends on the technology and the market we're serving, whether it's MMC or the ballistic protection for armor, and the list that you see there at the middle of the page. We did about a year ago sign a global license to be the license holder for fiber reinforced aluminum, which is a metal matrix composite product. We'll talk about that in a few pages. Over the years, we've developed strong relationships with a number of large customers that you see there. So they are a steady source of revenue in contracts that have been ongoing or repeated over many years. And those relationships are also very valuable. If we hit some bumps in the road, we're able to pick up the phone and call a specific person that we've known for a long time. Certainly a disruption like COVID or anything smaller, we can work through those relationships. Corporate vision is focused on high performance materials and using our expertise to solve the engineering challenges of our customers. So where we want to end up is on the far right, whether it's with our metal matrix composite products, which are typically base plates, or things like hermetic packaging. Armor is a very different application case for what is a metal matrix composite product, and a number of product development opportunities. We solve those customer problems for product performance by delivering material properties that address those challenges. And we deliver those material properties through material design of our technical team. And we'll give you a number of examples here on the coming pages. So our first product line, which we've been involved with for many years, metal matrix composites. On the far right, you see the black. That is a product that is high power electronics. That's an IGBT for something like an electric train. And what that's resting upon is the aluminum piece. That's our base plate. So we produce and ship thousands of those per week to different customers. They're going into things like electric trains or wind turbines or electric or hybrid electric vehicles. And those are able to thermally dissipate the heat generated by those electronics, which extends the life of those electronics by them simply not overheating. The primary material performance that we're delivering is we are matching the coefficient of thermal expansion of those electronics. So as that electronics assembly heats up and cools down, our base plate is expanding and contracting at the same rate. So it's maintaining good physical contact and thermally dissipating the heat generated by the frequent switching when, for example, an electric train is stopping and starting. We do have an active $13 million order from one customer, a longstanding customer. That's a 12-month order that we're in the middle of. And the market that we serve, we believe we have about 25% of the market. We also think there are expanding opportunities for other applications, such as wind farms for computer centers, server farms. If you're powering those with a wind farm, that wind farm would need IGBTs, and those IGBTs would need aluminum silicon carbide base plates, such as the ones that we produce. Our second product line, Hermetic Packaging, is very different. Those products in the upper right image are each about the size of a business card or smaller. And so those are providing a package for microelectronics. So we will sell those pieces that you see in the image to our customers, who are typically microelectronics makers, and they will package their microelectronics inside our hermetic package. And you see the different connections that will provide the transfer of that electronic signal out of the hermetic package. So that package protects those microelectronics from being contaminated by dirt or other gases or any sort of contamination, because once you're in aircraft electronics or a satellite or similar applications, you're simply not going to replace or repair these pieces. So again, a high cost of failure should these not do their job. We've been providing these products for many years, and this is a growing source of revenue for us. We believe we have about 10% of the available hermetic packaging market. One of the capabilities that we have not historically had is 5-axis machining, where some of these modules require that. And last year we added our first 5-axis machine to be able to properly serve that market. And we're now working on fulfilling our first orders for those types of products. And that is a a nice market opportunity for us that we believe exceeds $50 million. On the upper right, a few bullets there. There are a few products that do combine the capabilities on this page and on the previous page. So we will use our metal matrix composite know-how to incorporate those material properties into the base, the flat piece of the products you see in the picture, which provides that thermal conductivity and reduces the weight. This page summarizes what we call hybrid tech armor. So hybrid tech is our product family name for our metal matrix composites, but in this case, we're using the similar manufacturing technology that we use for our base plates for electric trains and related applications. But in this case, the performance benefits are literally the ability to stop a bullet. So by compressing the ceramic tiles that are within these panels, the aluminum infiltration compresses those tiles, and we have validated multi-hit performance. So not just stopping one bullet, but also subsequent bullets where the entire panel has not been sacrificed to stop the first bullet. This is very valuable to the Navy. For about a 36-month period from 2021 to 2024, we fulfilled a large order for us for ballistic panels that will be installed on the fleet of 12 U.S. Navy aircraft carriers. So if you can imagine weapon stations around the perimeter of the deck of the aircraft carrier, just below deck, those are manned by sailors. What's protecting the sailors is panels made here at CPS that provide that ballistic protection. There are other opportunities for this technology within the Navy and other military applications that we are actively pursuing because of the benefits that we provide. On the far right, we also received SBIR funding in the past for a phase 1 SBIR development program to apply this technology to lightweight modular helicopter flooring. That was a successful development effort. Unfortunately, the Army did not allocate any funds or consider any phase 2 proposals. So what we did on our own was we ballistically tested those panels against an M2 armor-piercing round. The standard for the V50 is 2,500 feet per second. V50 is the velocity at which 50% of the projectiles are stopped. So that's a market metric. The V50 for our panel was over 2,900 feet per second. So we certainly exceeded the standard and are now talking to helicopter OEMs and related interested potential customers about that technology. We do have an expanding portfolio of products that we've been developing, particularly in recent years. This page further highlights 2 of them that are approaching commercialization. I mentioned us as a licensee of fiber reinforced aluminum, which is a patented material that was developed by a company named Triton. So we are now the global exclusive licensee for fiber reinforced aluminum, which we call ALMAX. And that simply is referencing the concept that this is a better version of aluminum. So by including those short ceramic fibers into the product, it improves the performance capabilities of this material. It has increased strength at elevated service temperatures, which is novel, and it also has superior wear resistance. So a very interesting application for this is anything related to aircraft, because you have the relatively lightweight but high strength. So what you see in the picture there is bearing liners for a helicopter made out of our ALMAX material. There's a number of applications for this which are very large, and we are in the process of making product samples and getting product samples and data sheets into the hands of potential customers. On the right-hand side of the page, another member of our hybrid tech family, in this case, is radiation shielding. So we have active funding from the Department of Energy, which is now in phase 2 of an SBIR, and the concept there was to develop radiation shielding for the trucking of NMRs, nuclear microreactors. The simple concept being the less the truck shell weighs, the more cargo you can put on that truck. And they needed secondary containment for nuclear radiation shielding. So by incorporating tungsten and boron carbide into the aluminum infiltrated product, we're able to provide shielding to the specification of the customer for gamma and neutron radiation. Once we got into this and developed these materials, we also realized very quickly from potential customers that not only for trucking, but for facilities, there's great interest. So if you operate a facility that has nuclear radiation for either testing or production, you have a variety of places where you need a modular solution and you don't want to build, for example, a 12-inch thick concrete wall. So we're now pursuing those applications while we're continuing with the funded SBIR. This page lists a number of ongoing advanced research that we're doing, including the two things that I mentioned on the previous page. These do all build upon our core competencies to solve customer problems. So we have two active phase 2 SBIRs. The first is radiation shielding that I mentioned. The second is thermal energy storage to extend the range of long-range missiles for the United States Navy. We also just this year have received contracts for 3 new phase 1s, which all happen to be funded by the U.S. Army SBIR program. So you see them listed: electromagnetic protection for artillery shells, additive manufacturing of tungsten, again for artillery, in that case to replicate the shear properties of depleted uranium. And third, a nice win for us, which was our first external funding of the ALMAX product that I described on the previous page. And in this case, the intent is to lightweight components of military vehicles to extend their gas mileage and operating range. We also have money from NavAir from the Navy outside of the SBIR program to use some of our technologies to develop rocket motor cases. And we're pending a decision from phase 2. We had very nice results from phase 1, so we're cautiously optimistic, and that is using some of our capabilities to develop a controlled fragmentation warhead made of tungsten. I'm not going to read this page. There's a lot of words here. It's available for you to circle back to later if you like. But the summary is that the SBIR awards, if you're not particularly familiar, satisfy the competition requirement of the United States military. So, for example, if and when CPS is able to develop a technology with SBIR funding that is of interest to the United States military, there's a risk that a contract officer says, well, we like your technology, but we need you to compete. So you need to share your know-how with another company. But the correct and legally appropriate answer is we did compete. We competed in phase 1 of the SBIR funding several years ago, and we are now encouraged and allowed to be sole source. It's a nice reward for SBIR awardees like CPS. And it also, the second bullet point, it also survives growth of the company, whether it's acquisition or organic. You can be a defense prime and still have the data rights of a small business from an SBIR program. It's very powerful. This page just summarizes our product development that is ongoing. At the far right are the 3 product lines I talked about initially. Things that we're pursuing commercialization for, I've also discussed. And at the far left, you see some of the things that are earlier and lower on the TRL scale. At this point, I'll pass it over to Chuck to talk a little bit about our financials.
Okay, thanks, Brian. We issued our 10Q a few weeks ago, I guess now, and you can see we had a very nice rebound in the first quarter of 2025 compared to both the first quarter of last year as well as for the entire year. We were profitable. We set a revenue record of $7.5 million. Which represented 27% growth over the first quarter, and included the fact that we were still fulfilling the armor order in the first quarter of 2024. We had no armor revenue in the first quarter of 2025. So we've had significant increase in demand from our customers across the board. We talked about that $13 million order that we received. But that in and of itself, was helpful with these numbers, but we've seen strong demand from basically all of our customers. So a very nice quarter, and very optimistic as we move forward into Q2 and beyond for 2025. And you can go back.
Sure.
I just wanted to mention we are monitoring any tariff impacts. We haven't really seen a whole lot from that in terms of what we're doing at this point in time. Right, the balance sheet. So the balance sheet continues to remain strong. While our cash has gone down, over the last year or so, We still think we're in a good enough position from a cash standpoint, about $3 million between cash and marketable securities, to sustain us in terms of having to increase receivables, increase inventory as our sales grow. We do have no debt now. We had a final component of debt that was paid off in Q1. So we have no debt on the books at all at this point in time. And our current ratio of 3.3 compares to the industry average of 2.4. So I think we're in good shape from that standpoint as well.
Great. At this point, John, we can open it up for any questions with the remaining time that we have.
Sorry about that. Just had to click the video button. Okay, if you have a question, please enter in the Q&A section, and I will present it to management. I like to start it off with if you have in that presentation slide on new product development. Can you talk a little bit about which product has the biggest revenue opportunity and what kind of timeline you're considering on that?
Yeah, the quick answer would be on the Almax side, which is again a material that is mostly comprised of aluminum, but includes short discontinuous ceramic fibers, which increase its strength at elevated temperature and include improved wear resistance. And the reason that is the quick answer is that there are a great many applications potentially that Almax material can be beneficial for. It starts with aircraft because of the relatively light weight. So obviously that can include things like helicopters. I showed the picture on an earlier page of some of those bearing liners. One helicopter has, depending on the aircraft, can have 60 to 70 bearing liners. But other things like landing gear and other components that are of interest. Some of those adoption cycles can be extended. Obviously, if you have a pilot in that aircraft, there's going to be a careful testing protocol from the helicopter OEM. So we're also talking to applications, customer of those applications that are, UAVs, drones, et cetera. Again, the nice win for us just recently was phase one money from the Army to apply this material to ground vehicles. There's also industrial applications where you're talking about that wear resistance and that strength at elevated temperatures being of value. So there's a number of markets for this material that each on their own has significant potential. What we're doing now is putting product samples into the hands of customers with data sheets so that they can get that into their development cycle. We don't necessarily control that cycle, and it can be, could end up being months or even years before that becomes a volume opportunity. But that is what is underway with Almax. And radiation shielding, we also are very optimistic about because of the early feedback. Typically, a phase two SBIR is a multi-year program to get to a prototype. And what we have going on right now is even though we're only about 8 months into phase two, we already are having discussions with customers that have real world needs for modular panels that can protect whatever they need to from radiation shielding, whether it's gamma or neutron radiation. So we're very optimistic about both of those.
Great. That sounds great. I'm going to move over to the audience questions now. Audience member wants to know, can you provide some guidance on your expected revenue growth over the next 2 or 3 years? Can you talk about your need for financing to fund your top line growth?
Yeah, so sure. So typically we don't project our revenue going forward for public consumption anyway. But certainly we're very optimistic about our growth over the next several years, for all the reasons that Brian described. I think that in terms of the revenue, I'm sorry, in terms of the capital that we'll need to grow, we do expect that we'll be able to grow our cash position a little bit going forward, over time. We also feel that, well, we also have a line of credit with our bank that is untapped, that we can utilize if necessary. And I think the benefit of having no debt right now is that if something comes up that is uh, needs capital over and above what we can afford to put in on our own. We have a lot of opportunities from that standpoint that we could utilize to grow the business further if we had to.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. I mean, as Chuck said, we don't see a near-term need for external financing because of the balanced growth that we're seeing of our existing product lines to existing customers, existing product lines to new customers, as well as the new things and the SBIR research funding that's coming around.
Okay, an audience members wants to know if your products are being used in drones.
We do not have active revenue into the drone market today, but that is part of the discussions that we're pursuing, primarily related to the Almax material.
Audience member wants to know, was there a fundamental change in the business to account for the recent revenue growth?
I think the short answer is no. I think we've been doing a nice job of satisfying the needs of the customers that we've had for some time. I think there's sort of the answer sort of varies by opportunity. In some cases, the underlying market is growing. In some cases, the underlying market is growing, and we're adding some market share to particular customers. On the hermetic packaging side, we've picked up some new customers. The ones that we have given us more products to provide. The SBIR funding is revenue. If you go back prior to 2021, there was a long period where the company did not pursue SBIRs. So that's a relatively new item for us. And with two phase two programs, which are each about $1 million over either 24 or 30 months, plus the new three phase one programs, those are each 250,000 over 6 months. That adds to our top line as well.
Maybe a related question. Can you talk about how you sell your products, a direct sales team, maybe expand about the process of winning new programs, and why not add to that the competitive landscape all at once? So kind of bundle
Sure.
that.
Yeah, on the metal matrix composites, typically base plates, we have longstanding relationships with a number of customers that purchase those for those different applications, and those are affixed to their IGBTs, typically electric train or wind farm or a vehicle. So that is a direct sale relationship. In that market, we have one major competitor who has a different manufacturing method, but ultimately provides a similar product. That competitor is in Japan. If you have a less dramatic need for the performance of that material, you can simply use a cheaper product, which is copper. So there's a big portion of the market that uses copper-based plates, but if you have a challenging application with a lot of heat, you're going to need an aluminum silicon carbide base plate, either from CPS or from our competitor, Denka, in Japan. In hermetic packaging, it's very different. It's a much more crowded market. There's any number of competitors who have just a few $1 million of revenue, and some each sort of have their specialty of the types of products that they can provide. So that's a more crowded field. And then for armor, there's a number of different competitors who offer different solutions. And in our case, what we're providing as an aluminum infiltrated product that has multi-hit capability, that is a novel offering that the Navy has found great value in.
Fair enough. Question from the audience. Could you discuss sourcing, availability, pricing, and contracts for raw material? You mentioned tungsten and aluminum in your prepared remarks.
Yeah, so we've seen some like aluminum prices have increased a little bit lately. I think the main thing, especially on the MMC side, though, is that materials actually make up a relatively small portion of the overall cost of the base plate, for example. It's a lot of it's just the labor and the manufacturing that goes into it. One of the pluses and minuses is that the costs tend to be higher for the AlSiC based plates, as Brian mentioned, than copper. But nobody is going to go and buy a couple of pieces of equipment and start up an AlSiC manufacturing facility in their garage. It is very, very high barriers to entry from a cost standpoint. And that's really where the bulk of the cost comes in the manufacturing process, not as much in the materials.
Right.
Okay, gentlemen, it looks like we're about done with time here. Any closing remarks?
Thanks everyone for joining. If you have the ability to jump in a one-on-one, we'd be happy to speak with you or reach out to us separately as a follow-on. Look forward to speaking with you.
Thank you all. Have a great day.